Crimes of the Gods. Some of you have heard of books such as Chariots of the Gods, Magicians of the Gods, Fingerprints of the Gods, and Gold of the Gods, by proponents of the ancient astronaut hypothesis, such as Eric von Daniken and Graham Hancock. The ancient astronaut hypothesis, or Ancient Aliens, a popular series on Netflix and the History Channel, is an idea that there exists advanced civilizations who have charted the cosmos long before our modern space age. The main controversial aspects of this hypothesis is that these advanced beings arrived on Earth and directly shaped the destiny of mankind. In a universe with billions of stars, surely we cannot be the only instance of intelligent life. That's just statistically impossible. However, the Fermi paradox asks, if it's statistically impossible for us to be alone in the universe, then where are all the aliens? With the rise of near-death experiences and pre-birth memories in recent years, people around the world are becoming aware of the many realms of existence beyond our limited physical senses. I am able to have out-of-body experiences where I temporarily leave my physical body and explore the world around me outside of this space-time construct. Please see my previous videos for more details. Out-of-body experiences have shown me that there are indeed people and beings one may classify as extraterrestrial that dwell in dimensions beyond our physical perception. String theory also supports the multidimensional nature of our reality. So some of you may be thinking, well, that's convenient. So you're telling me aliens exist, but we just can't see them. Well, that's the thing. People can see them and have reported these sightings since ancient times. Military pilots, high clearance personnel in the United States Department of Defense, even Chaim Eshed, a former general in Israeli military intelligence, confirm the very real presence of extraterrestrials. Just last summer, in the U.S. House Oversight Committee, held a hearing confirming UAPs, the politically correct term now for UFOs, and life forms that are out of this world. I'll post links in the description. The point is, it's no secret that we are part of a larger interstellar community. Unfortunately, the relationship between us and our interstellar visitors isn't so positive. The biblical book of Genesis states that the Elohim created man to till the ground. Man was to toil, and women was to give birth in pain. In the Mesopotamian creation epics, highly advanced beings designed man to farm, mine minerals, and serve the gods. Man's loneliness causes him to yearn for fellowship with the gods, for relief from the harshness of life. But as I stated in my last video, it is these very gods that have condemned you to struggle and toil and forget who you truly are. We are from futuristic civilizations that have mastered cyberspace, quantum physics, and multimodal augmented reality technology. We have long since figured out that, like a black hole, our mind is a portal, a gateway to dimensions, and we integrated that into our everyday lives. Technology got so advanced that some people who had been accused of criminal activity and condemned to capital punishment shut off their life support systems and downloaded themselves into cyberspace permanently, where their metaverse avatars became their new bodies. Like a malware virus, they continued their criminal activity in the digital version of the universe. But they were caught by authorities within and outside of cyberspace. Their digital code was almost nearly erased, but they got away by downloading themselves a next level further into subspace. But their code was so badly damaged and corrupted that they could barely function. They became digital shades, ghosts in the machine. Eventually, they came across Earth, a cyberspace model of a higher world. And with the aid of another criminal syndicate currently operating that planet, they were able to integrate the last functioning bits of their genetic code with the operating code of the native sentient species, creating human hybrids. It was a step down from their former glory, but their options were limited and this world was a good hideout. But if they wanted to live the high life, they would need massive amounts of energy. As I explained in my last video, we are the free energy that upholds this system. These elite criminal factions gathered unsuspecting users from other networks or worlds and brought them here to Arcadia, a paradise of celestial cities where the only limit is your imagination. But before you get started, you're told there's an onboarding process where you have to go through a training module so we can map out your interests. This training module is in the form of a large black cube, like the Borg cube in Star Trek or the Allspark of the Transformers series. What people don't know is that once you go into the cube, you're not coming out. This cube is the power supply unit connected to the similarly shaped central processing unit, or CPU, of the mainframe that runs the simulation. When you enter the training module, you are born as a baby with no memory of how you even got here. It's a rather traumatic experience. But boundless energy, or spirit, condensed and concentrated in a body, generates vast amounts of energy that is redirected away from us and towards the sky cities, or heaven. People yearn for heaven because they have a faint memory that that was what they were promised if they made it through this life. Unfortunately, near-death experiences, pre-birth memories, past life regressions, and out-of-body explorations have shown that there is a reincarnation cycle in place. When we die, we don't fully exit the cube. We are given a life review, and no matter how well or how poorly you lived, you are told to go back and be reborn. They insist it's for your own good and for the collective spiritual development, but this is a lie. The training module is a death trap run by interdimensional criminals who imagine themselves gods. Their puppets, who are our rulers on the surface world, serve them and represent their interests, not yours. Now, you may think, wait a minute, if we are ruled by evil, false cyber gods, then why are our lives relatively comfortable? Most of the world is below the poverty line, sure, but those of us fortunate enough to live in developed nations enjoy modern conveniences, a fridge full of food, and the internet. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. Remember, the Industrial Revolution wasn't that long ago, and the narrative we're given about how modern advancements in telecommunications and social networks being invented by a stroke of luck in some nerdy kid's garage is complete myth. Core inventions like the radio and the internet were secretly developed in top military research facilities long before they were released to the public for commercial use. In other words, these technologies were given to humanity by the controllers of the Matrix system. If our society were to collapse, hardly anyone would have any idea how to recreate or re-engineer the wireless technology so integral in our daily lives. That's because this technology isn't really ours. It's advanced technology from higher order civilizations. People get into so many car accidents because our brains weren't designed to handle that much multitasking. Human beings were not designed for the modern world, which is one of the reasons why so many people feel stressed out and overworked despite these advancements. Up until very recently, the human species lived very simple, rural lives. Why the sudden change? It's not because our overlords turned over a new leaf. Oh no. They were caught. You see, this cube is an energy containment unit that hides our energy signature. We are in a subspace within a space. But a certain major world event gave away our signal, allowing our location to be triangulated. Can you guess what that major event was? History is stranger than we realize, and we'll get into that in an upcoming video. So, they were caught, and with nowhere to run, their only option was to download themselves even further into another simulation. But they didn't have the infrastructure to do so. Humanity was still riding horses and buggies. They needed a worldwide web in order to pull this off. Hence, humanity's lives were rapidly revolutionized, but not so much for our benefit as it was for theirs. Our lifespans are far too short to notice these patterns, but if you study history with a critical eye, you see trends that don't really make sense without deep investigation. But improving the human condition did help with making humans less resistant to reincarnation. More people were willing to reincarnate this time around, since they got to watch Netflix instead of spending half the day milking cows and chopping wood. Despite being caught, our criminal overlords feigned ignorance and still tried to pose as legitimate system administrators running a legal simulation. How come none of the people who enter the simulation ever leave? Golly, we don't know. They must be really enjoying themselves. Oh, really? Can we schedule an audit and take a look around? No, we are a private company and have no legal requirements for public disclosure. Okay, but all businesses in this jurisdiction, whether in hyperspace or subspace, must follow user agreements and keep transactional records. You are required to follow contract law. If we gather evidence that there has been a breach of contract, this operation will be terminated. Of course, it was already known that this was an illegal operation and that humanity was being held hostage against their will. This is a common tactical distraction ploy used during a hostage situation to get the criminal to change their behavior towards the hostages while you execute a takedown plan behind the scenes. Almost all near-death experiences and pre-birth accounts report how they were told they apparently agreed to some sort of contract to be here and go through these life experiences. Because people don't prepare for death, they are easily caught off guard by this and choose to follow the authority of their spirit guide, who clearly seems to know more about what's going on than they do. However, I am going to show how they breach every single component of the so-called contracts that we sign, agreeing to incarnate here, making these contracts invalid and unenforceable. Then, we're going to get into how this simulation is shutting down and how it's directly related to current and future events. I am going to use the standard contract law guidelines of my home state, which is essentially the same in all states. I'll leave a link in the description. As a note, I've been shown that contract law in the wider galactic jurisdiction is even stricter than this. So we'll go through the key principles of contract law and how the ancient Smiths of the Matrix, who pose as our spirit guides, violate each one. First and foremost, in order for a contract to be valid and enforceable, you must obtain fully informed consent from all parties involved. Fully informed means you are fully aware of the purpose and terms of the contract and have the ability to understand what you're getting yourself into. Consent means you freely and voluntarily agree to the contract and are of sound mind to make that decision. Lack of capacity occurs when one does not have the ability to understand the agreement or its implications, such as a minor or a person diagnosed with mental disability. Prior to incarnating, some people report that they felt scared or upset that they were about to be born, or confused about what was going on, and had no idea how difficult their life would be. Others report that they felt an extreme sense of excitement and were overjoyed at the prospect of being born, and had an almost childlike anticipation for this opportunity. Others still were very adamant about not reincarnating, citing the horrors and pain of their previous life, and refused to be reborn. A team of spiritual mentors would try to persuade and negotiate with this person until they relent to being reborn. If they still refuse, people have reported that they were pushed into or literally stuffed down the portal that leads to their body. All of these examples are clear violations of consent, including the examples where people felt overwhelming love and joy and childlike excitement about coming to Earth. The Matrix controllers use frequency modulation technology to tune into a specific emotional wavelength, amplify it, and beam it directly at a target. Some of the modular settings include obligation frequency, guilt and shame frequency, joy frequency, and love frequency. Because most humans are starved for love and crave affection, many are vulnerable to being manipulated into reincarnating. This is called love bombing, an emotional manipulation technique used to influence or control someone's behavior. This is not only a violation of consent, it's a form of abuse. Because most of human behavior is driven by fear or pleasure, rather than logic and critical analysis, most people easily fall for this trick. Deliberately altering someone's emotional state to make them giddy and childlike also reduces their reasoning capacity. The most important decision they could ever make in their lives, the choice to even be alive, is made when they are under the hypnotic influence of a love spell. This leads into the next key violation of contract law, signing under duress or coercion. Love bombing is a form of coercion. It is not to ease and calm the dearly departed. Its purpose is to eliminate resistance. The life review is used to guilt trip people by showing them their past mistakes and insisting they are obligated to reincarnate and clear their karma. Undue influence and the use of pressure tactics make a contract invalid. This is going to hurt people the most, but the Matrix handlers take advantage of the fact that billions of people are religious and use that personal relationship with who they think is God or a representative of God as a form of undue influence to pressure them to form a contract. Most NDEs report that they didn't know who their spirit guide was, but that they felt an overwhelming sense of authority emanating from the being and felt obligated to follow their directions. Again, that feeling of obligation is from the emotional frequency modulator they're beaming at you, which is illegal, by the way, for obvious reasons. Misrepresentation and non-disclosure are definitely breach of contract because that's fraud. Deliberately concealing pertinent information about what human life will be like, or straight up lying about it to make it seem more exciting and fun than it actually is, are common practices used by the human management teams in the spirit realm. The next bullet point basically refers to the terms of the contract being grossly and obviously unfair, that no one in their right mind could ever possibly fulfill the agreement. For example, many people are unaware that they signed extended term contracts in which they were pressured or love bombed to agree to live several, sometimes hundreds of lifetimes. This is obviously unreasonable. They cannot enforce this, and you are under no obligation to comply. Again, they rely on undue influence by masquerading as whatever spiritual leader or deceased family member the algorithm has calculated the most likely person you'll listen to. The next one: if anything in the contract is against the laws of your jurisdiction, it is automatically unenforceable. Any mistake or misunderstanding regarding the terms of the contract must be clarified. Again, many people have reported that they didn't really know what they were getting into when they signed up for this life. And finally, impossibility to carry out terms of contract. So this happens all the time. And of course, it's by design, where someone, let's say, agreed to incarnate in this life to become a healer. Let's say they fought in World War I and in their life review saw all the suffering and pain they caused and wanted to be a nurse or doctor this time around to care for and uplift people. But unfortunately, during their new life, they get into an accident that renders them physically incapable of practicing medicine. After they die, they go into the white light tunnel, are given the usual life review, and are told, "Oh no, you couldn't fulfill your life's mission. You need to go back and try again." So down you go, back into the portal. But this time you're born into an alcoholic mother. Then you become alcoholic yourself. Die and realize, whoa, I completely forgot my mission. What I was even supposed to do here. And you're told, you need to go back and try again. It's just on, and it becomes alarmingly clear what's going on here. Howdy McCoskey described humanity's predicament as a hostage situation, and I couldn't agree more. There was a show on NBC called Reverie about this very thing. It only ran for one season, and I'll leave a link in the description, but the show is very similar to what's going on. So, now that we have established how the powers that shouldn't be have broken the law on multiple accounts, and that they've been caught, let's highlight what they are being charged with. Breach of contract. 8 billion contracts. Ooh, that's going to be a lot of paperwork. Violation of privacy. You are not obligated to go through a life review, okay? Santa Claus shouldn't know when you're asleep or when you're awake. That's none of his business. The next one might be awkward. Remember earlier how I mentioned the biblical and Mesopotamian creation accounts? How God created man to work the field and till the soil? Yeah, genetically engineering a slave race is an illegal act under intergalactic law. Our lords and shepherds will also be charged with subjecting sentient beings to cyclical global resets and mass extinction events. Possession of illegal weapons of mass destruction, like the ones that vaporize the planet that used to reside between Mars and Jupiter. And finally, holding humans hostage in an endless reincarnation cycle. Think of the character of the gods, Zeus and his erotic escapades, the bloodlust of the jealous god of the Bible, and the world-famous quote from the Hindu god, "I am death, destroyer of worlds." These beings are runaways from higher worlds who are using Earth to escape from a shameful past and live out their vices. Until, of course, they can't anymore. Their hidden location was exposed. We found you. A cold and dark winter howls against the fortress of the gods as a black hole surrounding us on all sides, closes in on the solar system. What I am about to say has not been disclosed to the public. Not really. In recent decades, astronomers have revealed that the universe is expanding at an accelerated rate, that when they look through telescopes, they see stars moving away faster and faster in all directions, and they don't know why. They call it dark energy. They do know why. The edge of our solar system is getting sucked up and away by the singularity of a black hole that's all around us. Yes. People need to know that a black hole is closing in on us from all sides. Now, I'm not publishing this information for doom and gloom. On the contrary, this is a reckoning that justice has been served. Those with soul and true spirit have nothing to fear, like the 2014 film Interstellar showed you. As for the parasitic gods and their henchmen, the black hole is their worst nightmare. That's why the elites have been frantically building bunkers the last 4 years. Bunkers won't save them from the black hole, but it will save them from the masses of people who will demand to know why no one told them. And it will give them a holding spot until the changeover. More on that in a bit. But first, Pluto, America's favorite planet. Yeah, that no longer exists. Pluto wasn't demoted. Pluto was destroyed, engulfed by the black hole, which is tugging on the edge of the solar system and causing the orbital plane to tilt. Please look up what's happening to Neptune recently. Google image search what is happening to planet Neptune. My next video will be on Pluto's destruction, the Voyager missions, and Neptune's imminent demise. So as I stated in my introductory video, it's game over for the rulers of this planet. But don't think they're going to go down without a fight. These are the OG pantheons after all. As stated earlier, they have established the World Wide Web, the cloud, metaverse, crypto, and the quantum supercomputer, all in preparation for the shift, the download or integration into the next simulation. The problem is they want to drag as many humans as possible with them to worship them all over again in the next world. My concern is that after all is said and done, many people will choose the yes option to play again. Dark days are coming, but like I said in my first video, darkness is not the enemy. The beings of false light that have subjugated mankind for generations are the enemy. These aren't just crimes of the gods. What they have done to us is an act of war. If you found this video helpful, please consider sharing. Remember, stand your ground and know thyself.